Hello everyone, Fast Eddie here again. First and foremost, I would like to say thanks to all my subscribers and for everyone that's been commenting and sharing my videos with others. I love getting comments and emails saying that, you know, I've inspired them to practice or buy maybe a smaller cc sport bike because they were thinking about buying a 1000cc bike, but now after watching my videos or a combination of factors, they're going to buy a lesser cc bike. And that really makes me happy because, like I said, all the things I talk about, it's mostly because I've made the mistakes or I've went through those problems already and spent all this money and wasted all this money and time buying all these big powerful bikes, and I didn't know how to ride it. I had no education, and I was the guy riding around on my CBR 1000 in jeans. I mean, when I bought that bike, I bought a helmet, a jacket, gloves, and boots, and that's mostly what people buy when they first buy gear. They don't really buy riding pants or think about it. And that was me on a bike that's way more powerful than I would ever ride or could ever have the skill to ride with jeans on. So I made those, I was that guy, right? So when I see people riding around with that or whatever else, I try to give them encouragement to think differently about what they're spending their money on. Because I wasted so much money, probably over $5,000 alone, just trading in bikes, don't get the value for it, wasting money on that, wasting money buying exhaust, wasting money on all kinds of crap. I put exhaust on every one of my bikes. Up until the bike I have now, I bought an exhaust for every one of my bikes. So it took me a long time to learn to stop buying exhaust, because I have done it for every single other one of my bikes. And I gathered up the receipts and looked at my credit card bills. I spent over $8,000 on exhausts. If I just didn't buy that stuff, $8,000 I would have, I would have spent it on something else, but the point is I spent over $8,000 on buying exhausts for my other bikes, and it's just ridiculous. Anyways, this video is going to be about just my thoughts on rev-matching. I've been getting, I think, at least 4 or 5 comments about, can I make a video about rev-matching? And my first initial response, just replying back to the to whoever wrote me the question or the suggestion, was don't really worry about it. I wouldn't, there's no real reason to worry about that right now if you're a newer rider, especially if they say in the comment, hey, I'm a newer rider and can you make a video about rev-matching? So I understand the curiosity, and I would encourage you to search out books and courses to learn how to do that. However, if you're a newer rider, line selection, vision, throttle control, I mean, these things are so much more important that if you don't get down right, these things could jeopardize your life. If your line selection is incorrect and you don't know how to handle a decreased radius corner, I don't care if you're in the wrong gear, redlining, first gear, or 6th gear, and you're going 2 miles per hour. If you don't have a good line or understand how to steer, or if you're staring at the ground, man, you're gonna crash. So there's certain things to understand and get, building blocks, before you get into other stuff. Just like my video about street riding, it's called Street Riding, What's Really Important, Forget About Body Position. Again, when I go riding around on the street, I barely move my body. Maybe I'll move a little bit. If I'm going through a faster speed corner, I might move my upper body to the inside a little bit. Sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes for corners out on the street, I push the bike down like I'm doing low speed, but I'm actually doing supermoto style. And sometimes that's more comfortable for me for that particular corner at that time because of the corner, my speed, if I could see through it. There's a lot of factors. There's not one right way or wrong way to ride a bike through a corner. And if anybody ever says anything differently, I automatically disagree. You cannot say, for this corner, do this, and this is best, or this is right. It's not right or wrong. It's just my comfort of what I feel that works best. I mostly go for efficiency. My riding is based on a level of efficiency. If I could be more relaxed and more comfortable doing it, then I'll probably do it to a certain degree, but I can articulate why I do something. So pushing the bike down supermoto style, I'm causing the bike to lean more than necessary, absolutely, and that's a risk, but the benefits outweigh the risk if I actually do that. Maybe it's a really sharp blind corner and I want to have my head more upright so I could see farther through the corner. Or maybe I don't have time to move my body from one side to the other doing body position stuff because the corners are too close back to back. And sometimes in that really close back-to-back corners, maybe it's faster just to supermoto and throw the bike side to side because I don't have time to go from here all the way back to over there because the corners are right on top of each other. So I might I'm adding a little bit more risk by leaning the bike more, sure, but I'm saving time and energy by not throwing my body around back and forth on the bike, and I could get the bike to turn quicker and faster to get set up for the next corner. So there's always variables for every single thing that you're doing. It just all depends. The problem is if you only have one way of thinking, or only a little bit of training or a little bit of practice doing that one thing, that's the only tool you have in case something happens. You know, if a squirrel jumps out in front of me, your only reaction might be, holy crap, hit the front brake. My reaction might be to stand the bike up and hit it, don't even slow down. That might be the best option at that moment, because I've been in situations like that where I put 2x4s on the ground. I actually went over 2x4s and see how that felt coming out of a corner, or just going down a straight line. Sometimes the better option might be to accelerate. If you accelerate a little bit, the front end of the bike comes up, it lightens the front load. Maybe that might be the better option if you're about to hit something besides hitting the brakes. Or it might be your better option to get the bike up and stop as fast as you can, or to swerve. But if you don't have any of those other options, if you weren't taught any of that stuff, or you haven't practiced any of that stuff, then you're very limited in your riding. So that's the main idea what I'm talking about, right? So be eclectic. Have many tools in your toolbox, many things that you could do depending on various situations that you're not going to know what's going to happen. You got to always be ready, right? Be prepared for whatever you're doing. So to get back to rev matching, what is rev matching? What is the purpose in the first place? So at American Super Camp, Danny Walker and Jake Gagne was one of the guest instructors, as well as Cameron Peterson. And these guys are both, well, Jake Gagne is World Superbike right now. He's amazingly fast. He's awesome. He's a professional racer. And Cameron Peterson was also there, and he's in I think Moto2, or what is it called? Moto America. He's in Moto America, and Jake Gagne is in World Superbike. I got to meet these guys, hang out with them for 2 days at the American Super Camp course. Amazing. And they don't teach rev matching. So rev matching, say I'm going 150 miles per hour, I'm in 6th gear, down the back straightaway of a track, right? And I roll off the throttle, and now I want to go to 5th gear, then 4th gear, then 3rd, and then turn, okay? So as I'm coming off the throttle, I'm getting on the brakes, I'm slowing down, and rev matching is you pull in the clutch for a second, at the same time you pull in the clutch, you downshift the bike, you're still braking, and you rev the engine a little bit to get the RPM matched up to the rear wheel speed. Because if you're braking and you're slowing down, you're on the front brake, if I just pull in the clutch, downshift one time and let go of the clutch without doing anything, the rear tire can start to chip, it can start to hop, it can start to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So you pull in the clutch, like you're always on the brake, you pull in the clutch and you rev match a little bit to get the RPM up to make it the rear wheel speed the same as the engine speed. Now I know there's going to be some engineer or self-proclaimed motorcycle guru that's going to say, oh, that's not why you do it, blah, blah. Just please don't comment, there's no point. The basic idea is that's what you're trying to do. So besides all the technical crap, who cares, right? What is the purpose of doing it? That's the purpose of doing that. American Super Camp, they don't teach that, because their mentality is, how about you just wait until you're in the right speed, so once you put it into the gear, you don't have to rev match, just let the clutch out. You're already in the right gear, you don't have to match it because you're slowing down enough to get in that right gear. So if 6 gears from, I'm making all this up, if 6 gears from 130 to 150, right, and then 5th gear is at 110 to 130, and then 130 to 150 is 6th gear, then that's 5th gear is 110 to 130. If I just slow down until I'm under 130, which is my 5th gear, now I could just pull in the clutch, downshift, and ease out the clutch. I'm not just gonna drop it. I could ease out the clutch, not extremely slow, but not extremely fast, just kinda, I'm already at the right speed to be in that gear, so blipping the throttle, rev matching, is unnecessary. You see what I'm saying? So there's many ways. If I'm just going for a normal cruise, if I go right now and I take off to Julian, it's probably 40 miles from where I live, up twisty roads, all the way up the mountain. So the cool thing about my bike now, that I have now, and this is the only bike I've ever had that done this, I do not have to use the clutch upshifting or downshifting. If I'm in 6th gear and I roll off the throttle and I press down one time, it rev matches for me. It goes, and it does that for me. I don't have to do anything. That's why the bike is awesome. That's one of the reasons why I bought the bike. After all of my experience of 100,000 plus miles on all these different bikes that had zero technology, I was like, okay, I want to buy a bike, and I'm going to buy an awesome bike that has all this technology. I'm just going to spoil myself. Heated grips, GPS, keyless, all this crap. But every one of my bikes before didn't have any of that stuff. So 95% of all my experience on motorcycles do not have any technology. No ABS, nothing. Even my track bike, the KTM 390 Duke, that doesn't have any technology. The only thing it has on it that's that has technology in it is it just has ABS, which I could turn off anyway if I go to the track, because I put it in track mode or KTM race mode or whatever it's called. So if I'm riding around on the KTM and I take the KTM out, because it's still street legal, if I take the KTM out right now and I take off and go for a 50-mile ride up to the top of Julian, all the way up this mountain, there's no technology to Rev-Match, and I probably still won't do it, because first, I'm not going that insanely aggressive on the public roads through the corners to feel like I need to do that to actually make a difference, right? So if I'm going on a straightaway and I have 3 or 4 turns coming up and I'm riding around here in the twisty roads, I'll slow down, I'll roll off the throttle, I'll begin rolling off the throttle, slowing down, I'll get on the brakes, whatever I need to do. And then if I need a downshift while I'm still straight up and down, right? So you always adjust your speed first. That includes downshifting before you start to lean the bike. So let's get your speed adjusted so you don't go way too fast into the corner. And then it's body, head, bike. My speed is adjusted, I'm slowing down, I'm on the brakes, I'm in 6th gear. Say I'm going 70 in 6th gear. I pull in the clutch, I go down to 5th gear. Okay, now I'm in 5th gear. Pulling the clutch again, I go to 4th gear, I'm still slowing down. Okay, I want to be in 4th gear. That's all done when my bike is straight up and down. This is me riding on the street, right? I'm not the track. I do totally different things on the track. I'm trail braking, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm got my speed adjusted, I'm at the speed I want to be in. I'm on the brakes, then body, head, bike. I dip the bike in, I ease off the brakes. If I'm trail braking a little bit, then I start to get back on the gas, and I'm accelerating through the corner as the bike is leaning less and less and less. So by the time the bike is upright, I'm getting back on the gas. Now I'm upshifting. So since I'm talking about rev matching anyway, on any bike, you can upshift if you're accelerating quickly without ever using the clutch. It's speed upshifting. So on any bike I ever have, if I'm accelerating at a good pace, not just normally taking off, like just riding around, I don't do this, but if you're accelerating hard, like you're at the racetrack or you're getting aggressive out on the street, you don't have to use the clutch when you're upshifting. You could just put your toe underneath, say this is the shift lever. You can put your toe up underneath it and just give it a little bit of pressure. And whenever you want to shift gears, you just do this with your throttle. And just the pressure of your foot underneath the shift lever and that little tiny dip of the engine of not, like I got power, boop. As fast as I could do that, the gear shift lever will automatically slide up until the next gear. You don't even have to touch the clutch. But I do that all the time just because it's faster. There's no drop in RPM. Like say I'm going 5, 6, 7, 8,000, 9,000 RPM and I want to shift. It might dip down to 8,000 RPM if I'm speed shifting. But if I pull in the clutch, I upshift and I release the clutch, it might go all the way down to 6,000 RPM. So all that stuff, if I'm just going for a ride, even at a pretty good pace, on a bike that doesn't have the technology, I'm probably still not going to be rev matching. I might speed upshift, but I don't know, I may not do that either. So for everybody that wrote me comments about speed upshifting, or can you talk about downshifting or rev matching, whatever you want to call it, blipping the throttle like you hear, again, I would say if you want to learn it, practice it, go try it out, fantastic. But unless you have amazing line selection, you know what speed to be in the corners, your speed is good, your throttle control is good, your braking's good, your vision is really good. If those things are not down, I wouldn't worry too much about anything higher level than that. Just like the body position, once again, because it's such a big topic of so many people I see riding around here, and I'm behind them with the passenger, barely moving my body, and I'm behind them, and they're bouncing around on this sport bike with an exhaust in jeans, trying to drag their knee in jeans. And I see them, they're hanging off their bike, they got their knee sticking out, their knee is 3 feet from the ground. I don't know why they would try to do that anyway, and they're bouncing around the bike like a monkey. The bike's going crazy. Their line selection is terrible. They're going over the double yellow line. Their throttle control, I can hear the bike going on and off because they got the exhaust on the bike. And I'm behind them like, Jesus, dude, why are you trying to do any of this stuff? What is the point of any of this stuff? Learn line selection. Like, how about you not go over the double yellow line? If there was a car there, you would have got hit face first with this car. Why are you worrying about trying to do body position crap? It's irrelevant right now. Stop worrying about it. Doesn't make any sense. And I tell so many people, hey, I'll take a passenger. We can meet up in San Diego and just come for a ride. Just keep up. I'm not going to be going, I'll probably never go over 75 miles per hour, ever. Just follow behind me and let me know at what point where you get too uncomfortable where you can't keep up with me. And again, let's say 70. I'll not go above 70 miles per hour. Just stay behind me. And I have people on R1s or anything else, and they can't do it because what? It's all in the cornering technique. In the straight line, it doesn't matter. If I don't go above 70 and I go for a ride, in the straightaway, you're right behind me. No kidding, because your bike's fast, and I could be on the 390 Duke. But once we start cornering, I know cornering. All my knowledge, everything is all based on higher speed cornering. And then I added the low speed stuff because I wanted to learn that too. But it's all about high speed cornering, because that's how most people die, and that's what takes the most amount of skill, so you don't go flying off a cliff. So even with people on my 390 Duke, they can't follow right behind me because they slow down to 20 miles per hour for the corner, and I can keep a steady pace at 40. Once we get out of the corner, we're in the straightaway, they catch right back up, but it's a slinky effect for them, not for me. Because in the corner, they slow down way too much because they don't know how to corner properly, and I just keep the steady speed, and I'm just taking off. And they're amazed by, oh my God, is your bike supercharged? How is your bike so fast? Is this a 690 Duke? Is this the 1200? Is this the 1290 Super Duke R? I'm like, no, it's the 390, dude. The thing has 30 horsepower. What's going on? And they realize very quickly they get served a big slice of humble pie when they realize the bike doesn't mean anything. And that's my main message. Learn line selection, throttle control, vision, and really figure out how to ride the bike before you add a bunch of layers of stuff that can be beneficial. I'm not saying that bike position isn't relevant or isn't beneficial. However, if you're not going at a pace that really requires you to get the full benefits of the bike position, I made a whole video about this. There's 5 big benefits for doing stuff like this. It's amazing benefits, but if you're only going 20 miles per hour through a corner, like just at a slow pace, and your line selection is terrible, what's more important? Learn better line selection so you don't go over the double WL line and go face first into an oncoming car, or go flying off a cliff if you're going left. Is it more important to focus on that, or more important to focus on your bike position? Right? You have to pick your priority of what's actually important. So there's my encouragement to everybody who asked me about rev matching or blipping the throttle or any variation of any of those things. I would encourage you to really focus on the basics. And I said this before in different videos. The Marines in general, or the Marines that I work with, in my experience, if a Marine is brilliant in the basics, a lot of people said this. You know, General Mattis right now is the Secretary of Defense. He was a 4-star general. The Commandant of the Marine Corps, not the Commandant, but either way, he's a 4-star general, General Mattis. He's like, brilliance in the basics. Be really, really, really good at the basic stuff. What's the basic stuff in motorcycling? Taking off, throttle control, brake control, having a good line as you're going through corners. Where are you looking? Those are fundamental aspects of riding. If you have those down and you're really good at those, anything you want to add on top of that, great. If you just want to be really good and focus on the basics, low speed turning, get comfortable with your bike, that's awesome. You could be a good rider, you could be fast, or you could be quick, and you could go for a spirited ride with your buddies. And if you want to try to ride with them, you know, you could probably do that just focusing on the basic stuff. And you don't have to try to drag your elbow on the public roads or whatever people are doing, right? It's completely unnecessary. Again, my buddy who I made a video with, he came down from LA, and he has the other BMW 1200 GSA, and we go riding around. We're both on big adventure bikes. He has his wife on the back, I have my girlfriend on the back, and we're riding around all around here in Southern California. 2 big adventure bikes with passengers, and he's right behind me because he understands, and I've been helping him ride for a long time now. He follows my line. He's on my same throttle control. Like, he knows when to do this, knows when to do that. He knows trail braking, he knows bike position, he knows everything, and we're right behind and keeping up with any bike there is, or behind him. Like, man, I really hope this guy would get the heck out of the way, because if we're right behind people and people are like, oh man, I'm not going fast enough, if your ego doesn't get in the way, you'll move over and let people pass you up versus trying to speed up and ride above your limit. That's how people crash very quickly. So if you see someone come up behind you and they're obviously faster than you, or they want to go around you, just move over to the right and let them go. So sometimes we're behind, a couple years ago, we were behind 2 sport bikes, 1000cc sport bikes. We're both on the adventure bikes. They moved over, we passed them up. Thanks a lot for moving aside. And we just kept on going, doing our normal thing. Again, we weren't going over 75, maybe at the most, right? But we were so consistent in our corner speed, those sport bikes, we just kept on drifting back and back in our mirrors. By the time we finally got to the end of the highway where we were going to, we stopped in the gas station. They rolled up and like, man, you guys are fast, man. I'm like, I never went above 75, dude. It's just the cornering. It's always the cornering. The cornering is the focus. So anyways, those are my thoughts on a couple things I wanted to mention, because I've been receiving multiple comments about it. Thanks for watching. If you made it through this far, sorry for rambling on too long, but sometimes when I think of something, it reminds me of something else. That reminds me of something else. But anyways, thanks a lot, everybody. Whatever you're doing, Ride safe, be aware, watch out for crazy people, and assume people are drunk and always trying to kill you. I assume that every time I go ride, and it keeps me very safe. Again, none of my videos are this is what to do or this is what you should do. Most of my videos are either just my opinion or this is how to. Like how to get your knee down in 1 hour. That's one of my most popular videos. The video is not titled, this is what you should do, or this is what I think you should be doing, or this is what to do. So people are confusing those and making a bunch of ignorant comments because they think I'm telling you should go do this. This is just how to do it. Or it's my opinion about a bunch of different things, like riding in the rain or riding in the wind. Because of the experience that I have, people obviously want to hear my thoughts. So I'm not saying you should do that. If you have a better way or a different way of doing it, it's expected. I mean, there's 4 billion people on the planet. I don't expect everybody to think like me or to do the exact same thing I do. If you don't like the things that I do, that's fantastic. Don't do anything. Say all of the stuff I do is BS to you and you think it's irrelevant and it doesn't work, that's perfectly fine. It's just funny to me that people take time out of their day to actually write a comment saying, I don't agree with that and you should do this. It's usually to make themselves sound smart, and they write me a whole book or dissertation about why it's bad. I could care less. Just, there's no need to write a comment. If you don't like the video or like what I do, or you're assuming or you're putting stuff more into my content of what it's actually meant to be there, this is how to do this. Well, there's 15 other ways to do it. You forgot to turn off the bike before you picked it up. Good point, buddy. Very obvious, right? I don't have to say stuff like that. So if you want to make your own videos and go into detail, by all means, but there's no need to comment on my videos about silly stuff like that. Again, I just sit there and laugh about it. I don't get upset. Nobody has the power to upset me. So keep on writing if you want to. I'll keep on hitting like to every comment. I'll keep on replying back to all the comments because it is entertaining. But it's just a big waste of time. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.